Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for attending our first webinar of 2021. I believe this is the first one we've done at night, so we wanted to try something a little bit different. We're used to doing them in the middle of the workday, which can sometimes be tough with schedules, but wanted to try this to see if it might work. So happy to see everyone. My name is Carl Coffey, and I'm presenting with Ariel Mahlmann, and we're going to be talking about resilience at work for people who stutter. So, as I mentioned, my name is Carl Coffey. A little about me. Um, I've been a part of the NSA for about 7 years. I serve with Ariel on the Employment Advocacy Committee, which you'll hear us refer to as the We Stutter at Work Committee. For work, I'm a senior consultant with Humana, a healthcare company, and I live in Bowling Green, Kentucky, as you can see in my little name bio thing, and I'm a person who stutters.
Thanks, Carl. I'm Ariel Mahlmann. I am also a person who stutters. I have been with the Employment Advocacy Committee for maybe a year, a little bit less. I have really enjoyed working with Carl on webinars in the past and just being on the committee. And I'm especially excited for today's topic because I feel like it's something that we don't really talk about all of that much. So I'm really stoked to get into it today. A background about me: I am 25 years old. I just moved to Baltimore, Maryland, and I work in cybersecurity. I do marketing, um, and I just got a dog. Well, my boyfriend's dog, so she might be walking around in the background here. But yeah. Oh, click.
I feel like it wouldn't be a Zoom call without a pet kind of walking around in the background, so
Yep.
that's to be expected these days.
hmm So the NSA is a nonprofit organization dedicated to bringing hope and empowerment to adults and children who stutter, their families, and professionals through support, education, advocacy, and research. This We Stutter at Work committee is just one part of it. The NSA helps all kinds of people, all ages. So if you want to learn more about the nonprofit and how you can get involved or find a chapter events, you can go to westutter.org.
Mhm. So a little bit more information about our We Stutter at Work program. So we're a small part of the National Stuttering Association, and our goal is to really help people who stutter achieve career success. Pretty much as simple as that. We have a lot of really good resources that exist. One of the resources that I'm most excited about and proud of is our practice online job interviews. And so if you go to our website down at the bottom, you'll find that you can actually sign up to have a practice interview. So if you have an upcoming job interview and you just want to, have someone to practice with and kind of go over questions and answers and kind of get more polish, you can do that. If you are just starting out in the job market and you just really have no idea where to start and want some advice, some tips, we really do it all. And so it's a really, really great resource that I encourage people to check out and take advantage of. You probably know a little bit about our webinars because you're here with us tonight, but we have about 2.5 years worth of past webinars on our website that we have a majority of topics. Things like advocating for yourself at work, how and when to disclose during the job interview. So really a lot of great content there. We also have career profiles as well. And so different people who stutter, who have different jobs that vary across industries, healthcare, marketing, media, lots of things. So a really great opportunity to see what people who stutter, see what they're doing, see what types of careers they have, see what their career journeys have been like. So I encourage you guys to check that out as well. And also for employers, we have resources for them as well. Um, there are some folks who, for their jobs, they may have employee resource groups. And so if you ever want to talk to your employer about stuttering, let them know exactly what stuttering it is, and how they may be able to be good allies. That's a resource that we have available as well. So for tonight, we have a few guidelines for our webinar. As I mentioned, it's going to be pretty interactive, and so there's going to be plenty of opportunity to share, and give your perspective, and to kind of talk about your experiences. But in the meantime, we just ask that if you're not speaking, if you can remain on mute. We've got a really full house here tonight, so we're super excited about that. Um, Also, if you registered for the webinar, we are recording it. And so if you would like to go back at a later time, and, kind of if there was something that was said that you really enjoyed, then we will have that recording probably a week after tonight. And so once that recording is available, look in your inbox and you'll be able to access that at that time.
Oh, on to the meat. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is ask you guys a question. So think of a time where your stutter was ruined, not your stutter was ruined. Think of a time when your day at work was completely ruined, or your mood was ruined because of your stutter. Or if you're in college, it could be in college or in school, some type of moment where you just felt defeated the rest of the day because of what happened with your stutter. We can share. We've had plenty of those. I have two short stories. The first one was when I was in college, it was my freshman year of college, and I had to give a group presentation. I hated it. And all I had to do was read one slide, and it was super short. The font was huge. Like, it was so easy. And I had to present with a partner. And I told the partner, I advertised and I said that I'm a person who stutters. So I'm like more scared to do these kinds of things. And he was really nice. He gave me time to try and talk. And so when it was my turn to present my one slide, I was mute. And for my stuttering pattern, I can usually produce at least some sound, and I couldn't make any sound at all. And it was so embarrassing. I could hear people starting to laugh in the back of the class. I was like, oh no. So it probably took me like 3 minutes to get through a really, really short slide. And afterwards, I just put my head down. I cried on the way home. Like, it was horrible. The other time was recently at my new job. I had just started, and there's this guy that we sometimes hire. He's an actor to make videos about our product. And so he had come into the office one day, and my boss was like, oh, that's, so and so, go introduce yourself. And I was like, you don't know how hard that is, like, told, like, oh, go walk up and introduce yourself. You're like, okay. So I did. And I politely waited for him to finish his conversation with another coworker. And then I went to go introduce myself, and I couldn't say my name. And I felt so embarrassed. And I know that people could hear around me. And then the funny part was, like I mentioned, the guy's like an actor, like not a big one, like a, you know, small one in DC. And he was like, "It's okay. I'm just a regular guy. I act every now and then." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just so nervous to meet you." And I was just like so uncomfortable. And I just was like in a bad mood the rest of the day. So those are two opportunities that at the time I thought I was just totally like down and defeated because of them. We'll come back to those later on, but I want to let Carl share his experiences with that.
Sure. So, kind of like what you said, Ariel, throughout my entire life that I've been a person who stutters, I can think of so many, but one that probably sticks out to me is one of the first jobs I had after college. I basically had to talk for a living. I was an admissions counselor for my college. And so pretty much I would, go out on the road and recruit, um, you know, prospective college students, basically talk to them about why, my alma mater was so great. And, really a stressful job for people who don't stutter. And I mean, I'm a people person. I love to meet people. I always joke, I'm probably one of the most talkative people that you'll ever meet. And I was very much still in the closet when it comes to my stuttering. And so I didn't like to let people know that I stuttered. I would try and hide it at any opportunity that I could, which in hindsight, I can kind of see that I was setting myself up for failure by doing that. But I remember I was making a phone call and calling a stu I was calling a school to make a visit. And the person asked me my name, and I said, "Oh, my name is," and kind of like what you were saying, Ariel, I just went completely just mute for probably a minute, and that minute felt like an eternity, and the person hung up the phone in my face. I'm assuming they thought that
Mm.
the call got disconnected, and I just remembered sitting there with the receiver in my hand, and I probably was at the verge of tears because I just was thinking, "What am I gonna do?" Like, it was my first job out of college. I didn't know, that was going to be my life for the rest of my life. Was I gonna, be really scared to be on the phones? And it just was really, really tough. And I probably that moment, that one interaction that lasted probably for 2 minutes. I thought about that for 2 weeks, and I'm pretty sure I avoided making phone calls that I needed to make, probably for 2 weeks, just because I just was dreading that experience of it happening again. So yeah,
Mm.
it was pretty
Ah,
tough.
Carl, that's terrible.
Yes, I would agree. It really felt terrible at the time. It was very tough.
Keyword is at that time. So
Hmm.
again, just ponder was a time where you felt like things just sucked because of your stutter that day, and we'll come back and we'll talk about them. So, to get into the meat of things, what is resilience? Well, if you look it up online, it's the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, plural, we'll come back to that, or toughness. Um, ooh, went too soon. As you can see here, our pal Jim Halpert is knocked down over and over and over again. It's a GIF. I just realized, Carl, that putting in a GIF is like, it kind of goes with like the whole theme of getting back up, like time and time again after you're knocked down. So that's kind of cool now.
I love it.
So this is essentially what resiliency means. And I think the key thing is it's not just how you recover after something hard one time. It's recovering and getting through things multiple times and like learning how to process things much better. you're always building resiliency in all of your activities, whether you are going to Starbucks and, you have a hard time giving the barista your name every week that you go. I do, at least on Fridays, but I still want my tea, so, like, I'm still going to go. Or whether that's going to your doctor's appointment and you have to say your name or your date of birth and you always stutter on that. Like, there are so many small things that we do time and time again that we don't, I, I think, give ourselves enough credit for, because it's hard to be a person who stutters and go out and communicate like the rest of the population does. So it's not just the big things, like a big presentation at work, it's also the little things. So with that, like, you go into something, you recognize the fear and anxiety, and you do it regardless, because at the end of the day, it's going to make you stronger. It's going to make it a bit easier the next time you go and you do that same thing. Again, whether that thing is going to order a drink or volunteering to give a presentation at work, like, you have to get through certain things in life, and it's unfortunately harder for some people who stutter. So, learning to process those feelings of fear and anxiety prior to doing that tough situation, and then processing how you feel afterwards, and thinking, okay, that was hard, but you know what? I got through it. I did what I set out to do. I met my goal, or whatever it is. Like, you made it and it's okay. So I found this really cute comic that's actually made by a person who stutters. And it is Pranky Spanky and his tiger. I think I have to switch windows temporarily so I can show you guys, which I'll do right here if it'll let me share. Okay. So if you want to read the whole comic or check out his website, we'll put it in the chat box. I don't want to spend like too much time on it, but essentially, this person thought, okay, having a stutter is like having a tiger. They're one and the same. You try to lock it away, hide from your stutter or the tiger. It comes out when you least expect it to, when you don't want it to. On days where you tell yourself, my speech is good, my stutter's not that bad, it comes back to bite you in the butt. And so covering up and trying to hide from your stutter and hide from those feelings of shame and anxiety when you're faced with something tough doesn't work. It doesn't benefit you in the long run. So you turn to face the tiger or your stutter. And it's really scary when you accept that you stutter, or you accept that you have to do this thing, and it's going to be scary and you're going to have anxiety about it and you're going to feel ashamed and embarrassed. But the more times you do it, the more you recognize those feelings, the less scary it becomes, because you're more familiar with them. So here it says, slowly your tiger begins to lose its power over you, and you begin to experience more peace and control over your life. Stuttering used to make you afraid of talking or doing whatever it is at work that you're scared of doing. But as your tiger gets weaker, you'll be in more control of yourself and your speech. And so now you can walk around with the tiger or your stutter, and you can show people you stutter. You can tell people you stutter, and you can just walk into things, take your stutter with you, and know it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to get through it, even if it sucks and it does not go how you hoped it would, it's gonna be okay, and you are going to be a lot stronger and better at that thing the next time you have to do it. So I wanted to share that. Again, we'll put the whole or the link in the chat box so you can um, read the rest of his website and his comics. They're really, really cool. So I'm going to kick it off to Carl to go through why we need it.
Awesome. Thank you, Ariel. And I just got that link and posted it in the chat. So if folks want to go to it after the webinar, feel free to check that out. So I'm going to talk about why we need resiliency. And I love the theme of our office gifts. Really, really cool. But yeah, when we build resiliency, we do this because we know that in life we're going to go through tough situations and we're going to have experiences that can be really hard, to manage and to cope with. I know that in the chat, a lot of you have been sharing some of your experiences that you've had where people have just been jerks, or they have told you that you can't do something or they've doubted your abilities at different times, and just want to let folks know, that it doesn't necessarily get easier. It's just that we get stronger. And Ariel, I think you stopped sharing.
Oh, I did? Oops. I was trying to pause the GIF because I don't want it to be too distracting, but I guess it didn't want to give back my screen.
Oh, good. I
I'm
think
sorry,
that's kind
Carl.
of
I've ruined your
no, no,
flow.
no. You are all good. I feel like that's something that we've come to expect with Zoom, especially being a year into the pandemic. So
hmm
completely get it. All right, here we are. So yeah, I was just saying that it doesn't necessarily get easier. I mean, tough things are always going to be hard to do. Like, with Ariel, she was saying earlier, that we may go to like Starbucks and order our drinks and know that we're gonna stutter on our names. But, we really want that drink, and so we do it. And, I think it's just that we happen to get stronger. Like the more and more we do things, the more and more we face those things that we think at one point are just impossible and still can be really tough to do. Like it gets better with time because we kind of have those experiences and we know that we're able to do it. And, the first time you may try something new out, you may feel like, wow, that didn't go like I wanted it to go. Like I feel like I failed. But, if you did it, if you put yourself out there, it's going to get a little bit easier to do as time goes on. And so you just have to trust yourself and trust the process. Um, and I want to say this is probably one of the most important things that I want to share is that just because something gets um, easier, it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, if I do it, so many times, I'm going to be fluent. Like for me, that's not the goal. My goal is, did I say what I wanted to say? Did the person, were they able to understand me? Was I able to make a co- connection? I can do that whether I stutter or not. And so I think for me, in terms of my stuttering journey and my experience, I stopped focusing as much on fluency, and I just started to say, hey, did I put myself out there? Did I maybe go up to that person and introduce myself when I knew that I didn't want to, when I knew that I was going to stutter my face off? Did I do it? Yes, I did. Was it tough? Heck yeah, it was, but I did it. And so I think, that as we're thinking about what resiliency is, we need to remember that it doesn't necessarily equal fluency, but it just means that, we're going to do the hard things and just continue to keep moving forward.
hmm Yeah, I love that last part. Like, it could get easier, and maybe as a result, you aren't as nervous, so you don't stutter quite as much, but it's not something where you should think, "Oh, the more I do this, the less I'll stutter." You'll just get a lot better at processing and understanding how you can handle those hard situations, which then make them not hard anymore. So it's great.
Mhm.
So we're coming back to this question, and I wanted to visualize some changes here. So instead of that time where your day was totally ruined because of your stutter, try to shift your mindset a bit. So instead of thinking of it as in it ruined your whole day, you might think, okay, well, my mood was temporarily dampened at work because of my stutter. For instance, in the two situations that I gave, the first one, my mood was definitely temporarily dampened after I gave that awkward and horrible presentation in college, but I got through the assignment. I did say what I was supposed to say on the slide. We got a good grade. Um, Even if it may have been pity, we still got a really good grade. And the next day, no one said anything. So when I reflect back on that horrible time in college, yes, it felt bad in the moment, but like try to look at the other things that happened or did not happen that actually matter more. In the second example I gave with meeting that actor at work, I definitely felt awkward having people around me that could like hear me struggle to say my name. But you know what? Even though my mood was temporarily dampened because of it, that moment actually created a bridge for me to advertise to a colleague that I stutter. And so that ended up being like a really great thing. And that person that I advertised to opened up and told me that she used to be in a relationship with a guy who stuttered too. So it was really cool to just be able to think of something good that came out of it. And the next time I had to give a presentation in college, I was still scared, but I thought if I can make it through that horrible time my freshman year, I can do this again. And I know what to expect. It's going to be hard, but I can get through it because I did the first time. And same with introducing myself to people at work. It does not necessarily become something that's so easy. I don't have to give it a second thought, but it's not as bad as it was the first time. And sure, I still get ashamed and embarrassed, but does it ruin my whole day? No. So by doing those things time and time again, I'm building up resilience. So, Carl, I want to hear how your experience, turned into something that like allowed you to build more resilience.
Yeah, sure. So, I really like this slide because it makes me think of, and I can't think of where I heard it first, but I'm pretty sure it was a self-help book that I was reading, and the author wrote something like, you know, did you have a bad day or did you have a bad 5 minutes? And thinking about it like that really put it in perspective, especially for me in terms of my stuttering journey. Kind of as I was sharing my experience earlier with that phone call where things didn't go as I planned. I ruminated and thought about that for probably for 2 weeks, and it really affected what I did, how I did my job, how I interacted with people, and, kind of looking back now, that was probably what, like 10, 11 years ago. But, I think back now and I'm like, well, that was only 5 minutes of my day. But I was so in my head and I was just so thinking about, like, oh my gosh, this person must think this about me, or, what does this person think? Like, now I'm like, what does it matter? Like, yes, I stuttered. I'm a person who stutters. It's going to happen from time to time. I just think about how I put so much pressure on myself. And I think that kind of as I've gotten older, I just have kind of gotten that attitude of, so what? Like, if I stutter, I stutter. I did it. I went to Chick-fil-A and the person asked me my name, which I knew that they were gonna ask me. I stuttered on my name, which I typically do, but I got my sandwich and I'm happy about it. So
And it
it's
was
kind of
real
like,
good.
it was good. It was good for sure. And so I think kind of that it's really, I've put things into per perspective now. So yeah, but I think, that kind of going along this theme, like it doesn't necessarily get easier. Like, when I'm in those situations, I still, like, if I know someone is gonna ask me my name, like, I still, like, my heart still beats, right? Because I kind of like know, oh, I'm probably gonna stutter because I always stutter on my name. But I do it anyway. Like, one experience that I had, at Chick-fil-A, just for example. I know I've been talking about Chick-fil-A a lot, but I have a lot of examples. But I remember once I actually went to go order in the morning, and it wasn't very busy, and I was, doing my order. The person asked me for my name, and I, like, stuttered. I had a pretty long block, and I just remember I maintained eye contact through the entire block, which for me has always been super, super hard. And I think that in the past I would avert eye contact because I felt so much shame around my stuttering. But as I was stuttering, I looked at her and we were like maintaining eye contact, and she like smiled, and it was kind of like a, hey, I'm here, like, I'm not going to be a jerk, and it felt good. And to me, I kind of like, when it was over, I was like, hey, I did that, and that felt really good just to kind of like do it. um so yeah, that's about my experience. But as I said, I'm a very talkative person and can share for hours, but we want to hear about you guys and kind of learn about your experiences. So we like to open up the floor. I know that we've had a pretty active chat. So we're really curious to hear about some of your experiences, and if you have examples of how you've been resilient at work, things that you might have done, or just kind of hearing about what you guys have on your mind or what you want to share. So I know that we've got a pretty full house now. So what we're going to do is we're going to um, go in the order. If you have something that you would like to share, please either raise your hand, which I see a couple folks have done, which is really neat. Or, if you like to share something in the chat, you can continue to do that as well. So I'm going to start with Adam. I think Adam has been r- raising his hand for a while. So, Adam, I'm going to ask you to
Uh,
unmute and
at
you
the
can go ahead
job,
and share.
at um, uh, at the uh, uh, at the at the job I have, the I was excluded for from from a from a game. I was left out of a of an act of a of a of an activity, uh, because because I s- uh, um, because I uttered a lot, and I totally hated it. I was extremely angry at him. I'm like, you know what? I was uh, I was extremely angry, and I felt awful, and they and they they and they excluded me from um from the game, because because they were all chatting, and they said, Adam, Adam, get to work, Adam. I was so angry at him. I was mad, and I was and I was furious. I was so angry at him. I and and I hated that day. Hated that day. It was a terrible day, and I hated the afternoon, and I hated them too. And you know what? They I, and I and it changed. I changed jobs, I changed jobs. I work I work awesome now. I have a great group, a great group uh, uh, of uh, of employees, and they are awesome. And they are awesome as hell. They are extremely awesome people, and it's fun to work for all of them, and they are so nice and they are so great. But it was a terrible day. I mean, I'm like, oh my god, and they were they were they were creeps that day, and I'm like, screw you all, I'm like, screw you. I hated that day.
Yeah, that sounds like that experience was really tough, Adam, but it sounds like you really landed at a good place now where you're with,
Oh, you know what?
a much more supportive group of people, and
It
so
was
I'm
a good.
really happy about
It
that.
was a bad day, but you
Mhm.
know what? It it all changed, and it's all good now. That's what we like, Good
There we go.
experiences, not mean people, not mean people. Good experiences.
Exactly. Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Adam. All right, I think Stacy, I think your hand was next, so if you'd like to share, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hi. So I've worked in HR for about 20 years, and obviously means that we have to speak a lot in person, up in front of groups, and that's always been hard. Just every time I'm really, really nervous. I try not to be, but I think we all know that's just not going to happen. A job I had back in 2018. I had to onboard about 25 new hires at a school where I was working. I'd only been there about 2 or 3 months, so I was also new. So I had to learn everything that I had to teach them through PowerPoint. So there I am, dressed up, PowerPoint, all these new people. Like I said, about 20 to 25 new people. I don't know them. They don't know me. I get up there trying to be calm. In my eyes, it went horribly. I tried. I studied everything over and over again, trying to memorize everything. But I got through it. I got everyone hired, onboarded. It was pretty awful being there. But once it was over and I was back in my office, I kind of calmed down. No one ever said anything to me. Maybe people were really nice, people were very understanding. I don't know, but it put a big, what was that word? It definitely dampened my day, but I got through it. I got through it. I got them all
Yes,
onboarded. I
you
got home
did
that
what you
night.
set out to
I
do.
just breathed a huge sigh of relief that was over.
Yeah, and like you have
Ugh,
probably had more experiences like that in HR. Maybe
yeah.
not with that many people, but like you've onboarded more people
Oh,
again in the
oh,
future. Like,
hundreds of people.
yeah,
Yeah,
you've done it.
still.
You've
And
gotten
it
through
never
it.
gets easier, but it's what I do. I like it. I like people. I like to teach them. So it is what it is. We just have to get
It's
through it,
hard,
and it's
but you
hard,
recover.
but I like what I
Mhm.
do, and I'm not going to change now. So that's,
That's great. Thank you for sharing.
thank you
I
for
like that
having me.
example.
Yeah, and just to kind of add on to that point, Stacey, you were saying how tough it was in that moment, and you were really happy that it was over. And I don't know about everybody else, but I feel like we are always the really toughest on ourselves. Like we are always going to be our own
Our biggest
biggest critics.
critic.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and like I've had people tell me like, "Oh my gosh, you did a really great job," but I'm gonna think about that one point where I slipped up. Like they might not have heard it, but I'm gonna know it, right? So we just have to tell ourselves like, we did it, and
People always say that to me too. You were great. And I think to myself, I know that I wasn't great, but if they thought I was great, okay,
that's
we'll
all
go
that
with
matters.
that. That's right.
Right.
Thank you for
Awesome.
having
Thanks.
me.
Yes. Thanks for being here and sharing, Stacey. All right, Jai, I think you're next.
Hi, everybody. I am Jai, and I currently work for a public accounting firm, and so for me, stuttering has been a really interesting journey because my stuttering has been fluc- um, fluctuating throughout my life. I would have really fluent period, and I would have really what I call bad period for stuttering. So for me recently, for the past 6 months or so, since last December, my stuttering has been pretty bad for me. And so every week for my job, we have a scheduling meeting where each of us in our group goes over what we have to do for that week, and we each talk about, hey, here is what I have on my schedule for that week. And it's a pretty routine meeting that I haven't been that nervous for, but because I was coming back from a very bad period, and I prepared some probably 20 minutes before the meeting. I was rehearsing what I was going to say, and I wrote down what I was going to say. But I think when it became my turn to speak, I couldn't get my words out, and I tried to say, oh, I was preparing to disclose that I stuttered, even though probably everyone knew, but I couldn't even say I stuttered. And I was silent for about probably 20 seconds or 30 seconds. And the partner jumped in and was like, hey, it's fine. And I stopped speaking, and I felt really horrible that day because it's something that I've been doing for the last 5 years I was there, and suddenly I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. So I felt really bad, but how I felt resiliency is that even if I couldn't do it, I I kept it going. So for the weeks afterwards, I like didn't try to. I still like attended the meeting, and even though I stuttered, but I still tried to say like what I want to say. And for me, I thought it's interesting when you guys talked about, hey, like if you have done it enough times, it'll become easier, in a sense that it wouldn't be like as scary. And I thought that was a great point. At the same time, for me, I felt like because my stuttering fluctuates a lot, even though I do something really scary, for it, like I felt my speech would be fine for example, 2 years, and then after that, if I stop working on it, it almost felt like a regression. So I thought resilience is something that you always have to keep you always have to keep working on it, and it's to like not forget that like when things get tough, there is always gonna be like light at the like end of tunnel.
That's
So
true.
I thought that's something I wanted to say, but sorry for being
Don't
very
apologize.
scattered.
You are fine. Thank you for sharing. I agree. Yes, you are always building resiliency, and you have a weekly. You said it was like weekly, right? The meetings.
Yeah, it's weekly scheduling meeting, and yeah,
Yeah, you show up every week, even if it's a bad week for your stutter or a good week. You show up and you say what you have to say, even if it takes you longer, but you are not quitting your job because of it. You're not like avoiding going to the meetings. Like you are doing super well. It's hard, but you're doing it. And it probably is not as bad now as it was in the beginning. Like, your first time you had to attend these meetings when you had like a bad week. It's probably gotten easier since then. It still isn't enjoyable, but it's probably not quite as bad as it was. And like you said, you're always building resiliency. So, yeah, thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, next I think we've got Annabelle, I believe.
Yes. Good evening, guys. My name is Hannibal Augustin. And I am the co-chapter leader for the Miami chapter. And I just want to say that today, that I've seen more girls who stutter than I've had in my entire life. So hi girls, this is like so
Hello,
amazing
ladies.
to me. Because for the support groups that I go to, there's just men. So thank you for this. This is like just beautiful to me. So for me, I'm kind of pretty open about my stuttering. So for my job, my job interview, I started by saying So before we start this meeting, I just wanted to tell you that I stutter, and that means that I may block, repeat words, or speak slowly to be fluent, but to please not speak for me, because um because from because from my experience, I kind of see that people don't know that we stutter, and that people don't know that we stutter differently. So by telling them, um, so so by telling them that I stutter, and how um that that I- that that I stutter, then they know that so they know that the interview will be kind of different. Um and then that way I won't need to rush, um or try to speak more fluently than needed, and then that way I can take my time, say what I want to say, and keep keep being true to myself, because I kind of see that um that 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 most people don't care that you stutter, um and then that the reason that they start to chuckle, or or make weird faces, that it is because they don't know the way to try to try to the way to try to get you through your tough through your tough moment, because they don't know that you're stuttering, and they don't know the way that you stutter, so they don't know what to do, and to try to break the tension, or the to try to break the tension, the or the awkwardness. They just try to chuckle, or just l- or just or just laugh it off, so that probably you could feel better. But what they don't get is that by chuckling or laughing it off, they are making it harder for you to 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 be to be resilient, and to keep on going, and to keep on trying, be, because when you see someone laughing, because when you see someone laughing when you see someone laughing when you see someone laughing at you, you don't want to speak anymore. You want to give up, because you believe that you won't amount to anything. So by showing them that you do stutter, and that's the way that you're going to speak, you're gonna take the power away from them to make you feel bad about the way you speak, because now um because now because now that they know the way that you're gonna stutter, and that you told them, um they can't really so they can't really they can't really be weirded out, um because 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 you've kept true to yourself, and you're just gonna keep and you're just gonna keep on doing that. Thank you.
That is so true. I mean, I'm just going to echo what Carl said in the chat to you. You are setting the expectation for how you want people to treat you when you're talking to them. And that is fantastic. I mean, we have so many webinars about disclosing and advertising during job interviews, during meetings and everything else. And like, that's like such a popular topic amongst us here because we just think it gives you so much power. It makes you feel good about yourself and it takes the pressure off of you. And by doing that in and of itself, like you're building your own resilience. You're making it easier to tell people your stutter. You're making it easier on yourself when you are kind of processing how people respond to you. So I think that's great. And yes, power to all of us women who stutter. I like that.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Yes, thank you for sharing, Annabelle. Appreciate hearing your thoughts and your experiences. All right, we're going to have Daniel up next.
Hi there. My name is Danny Fleischman, and I am a person who stutters. I am majoring. What was I going to say? I have a different journey, like most. I was confident, stuttering, growing up, and 10 years, 5 years prior, I have been stuttering more, and I've been avoiding more things, and I'm missing out on more opportunities. I am finishing up graduate school in counseling. I have a caseload of 10 clients, and it's been a good but stressful experience. I interviewed last month at 2 private practices, and I was told I should switch fields, and I was probably depressed about this for days on end. I have noticed from avoidance that stuttering has become harder over the past couple of years. And I am at crossroads because psychology and my mission on Earth is helping people with mental illness. And I'm seeing my cohort get jobs, and it's been a tough time. I wish I had happy ending, but I am persevering. I am defending my dissertation tomorrow. That's 2 hours, so it'll be good. And I think just wanting to not avoid. I was outgoing, and I miss that person very much, and I think avoidance has made the cycle really hard to to break. So thank you all very much.
Thanks for sharing, Daniel. And I just want to be one of the first to wish you good luck tomorrow when you defend your thesis. We know you're going to do awesome. So I look forward to hearing about how it goes.
Thank you.
All right.
Good
Just want to
luck.
do a little time check. So we're at 32 minutes after the hour. I know we're supposed to end at the 45-minute mark, but this has been really good. And I've enjoyed hearing all of the experiences and perspectives. And so we're going to get through the folks that we have that have their hands raised. So I believe through Leah. So just be aware of the time that we have left. But if it runs a few minutes over, then we're in charge. And so, we don't have to end it when it says we're going to end. So just want to let you guys know that. So it's our party. We can do what we want to, right? So let's see who is up next. I think we have Patrick followed by Bobby.
Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick, and I am a person who stutters. I'm also a retired elementary school teacher. And one strategy that I had that really worked effectively with me and at the workplace, school, is that I would have to get outside of myself. Okay, and that is, I'm not in the mode of the person. I'm in the mode of the uh, elementary grade school teacher. That is the third grade teacher, and I found that I became much more fluent when I remembered that mode. For example, there are a number of actors and actresses who stutter in real life, like James Earl Jones, Samuel L. Jackson, and Emily Blunt. And when they get out of character from their personal lives into the character of the that they're portraying in a movie, they're really very fluent. So I used that strategy. That is, okay, I'm not Patrick the person. I'm uh, Patrick the third grade teacher. And of course, not only was I interacting with my students, and I would disclose to them at the first week of school, but I would be very fluent with them. And of course, when you teach elementary school, not only are you interacting with the students, you're interacting with your colleagues, the other support staff, like the custodians, the aides, the principal, and I'm also interacting with the parents. So when I would think, okay, what is the professional thing that you need to convey, and I would be in that mindset, uh, I could be pretty fluent in the classroom setting and in the school setting. But it was when I went home and then I was a husband and or a father, I was not nearly as fluent. But so that kind of strategy of trying to be in the professional mode was one that worked very effectively for me.
Thanks for sharing, Patrick. It was cool to know about your experience and awesome to know you're a teacher. My wife is a kindergarten teacher, and honestly, do not know how you guys do it. You have the patience of a saint. So yeah, just want to thank you for all of your contributions. And I really think that that's an interesting point that you made. When you were talking about the fact that when you focused on the kids, that it kind of seemed like you were more fluent. And I just think that you just knew that they were there to learn from you, and really kids don't care. They just trusted you as their teacher, and they knew that you were a good person. And I'm glad that it sounds like you made a lot of really good impacts there. So awesome to hear.
Thanks for sharing.
All right, next I think we got Bobby.
Bobby!
Hey, Ariel. Long time no see.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So, like Carl said, my name is Bobby. I'm from Ellicott City. I'm a person who stutters pretty much since I was 6 years old. Let me think, because I got some stories about interviews. I've got some stories, but I'm trying to narrow it down to one. I guess I'll talk about this one. I hope I don't get too angry here. So I was interviewing for a desktop support position, but this was about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. This was back when I was very covert, back before I saw Vivian. And I remember going to the interview. Of course, interviews are just hell for me anyway, but especially for a person who stutters anyway. I remember I remember the guy being like really hard, like just that kind of person, just a hard person. I don't know how to describe it, but like I remember he like interrupted me a few times, and like of course I was having trouble getting words out, and then he asked me like we ended up in this scenario kind of thing, and like because part of my job was to be on phones, but like I was exempted off of them, but I didn't really tell him that. Of course, I was covert, but so basically, we got to this scenario of like, what would I do with an irate customer? And I just froze. I was having a block. I was just, I couldn't think, and I was silent for about, honestly, I don't even know how long. And he just looks at me disappointed and goes, "Silence." And just the fact that, and keep in mind, this is the regional manager of desktop support services at the Department of State doing this crap. And it just makes me so angry that people like this, and I'm still on the same project, honestly. I still am, but it just makes my blood boil that people like that are in positions of power like that. And it just makes me think like no wonder I need melatonin and sometimes edibles to go to sleep at night. Right? Oh my
Carl
gosh.
just posted something in the chat, and he said some people have no business managing other people. I'm convinced.
Right.
And like that's just sounds like that guy was just not, even if you didn't stutter, he just sounds like someone who's just not pleasant. But
Right.
I'm sorry you had that, that is really, especially that he was just like that, just it's almost like the disappointment he expressed was like worse than laughing at you.
Right.
Like I'm picturing when you're a kid and you're scared of your parent getting mad and they're like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. It's like that, like, ooh, that hurts to your core. But do you think that experience has made you better or stronger mentally at job interviews or other, really hard situations?
I would say, yeah, of course, it's been a while with the pandemic, but I am a big advocate now anyway that please disclose your stutter, basically, please,
Yeah.
because just so many people they just don't know. They just don't know what's going on, or even if you don't disclose, and even if you stutter through the whole thing, some people, they just get the wrong idea.
So I don't want to like call you out and make you feel like uncomfortable, but I do just want to share with everyone here that I have known Bobby since he was very covert, and it just like makes me so warm on the inside to see like how he's come from being covert to now like always attending webinars, being a huge advocate for advertising and encouraging other people to do the same. So like it truly is amazing. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like it seems like you have a much better, like stronger mental relationship with your stutter, and like
Yeah.
it's a lot easier than it was in the past when you were avoiding everything. So I just want to say I'm so proud of you, and I hope everyone else can like, you know, hear this and be like, that's amazing. So props to you, Bobby.
Hey,
Thanks for sharing.
I'm proud of everybody in here. I'm proud
No.
of all of you.
Oh, what a perfect response. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Bobby. All right, next we got Nikki, followed by Lamberto.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nikki, and I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I just wanted to share something that I've actually gained a lot of insight from everyone else's stories here. The first 20 years of my life, I was not fluent in any way possible. My stutter was pretty severe. Fast forward to now, the 20 years going forward, my fluency has improved. That does not mean that I don't have very tough days. One thing that stands out to me is I was presenting to our board of directors, and I was nervous in general, which I believe I would have been even if I didn't stutter. And I got through it, and then afterward, my executive director kind of noted to me like, "Oh, you just seemed really nervous," and I was like, "Well, I do stutter, and I don't know if all of you guys, when I wake up in the morning and I say a few words, I can kind of tell if it's going to be a fluent or a not fluent day for me." And so, my underlying insecurity that I've had my whole life around my speech is not the fact that I stutter, but that it may be perceived that people who stutter are less intelligent or unsure of what they're speaking about. And so that was the feeling I took away from her feedback, whether she meant it that way or not. I don't know, but that's what I took with me. And so that's just something that I struggle with, to not fear that and be over analytical about that. So one thing that I've learned today is about self-advertising, which honestly had never dawned on me to do that. And so going forward, when speaking in front of our board of directors that have new members and don't know me, if it might be a great idea then to say, "Okay, I stutter, so if you need me to repeat anything or clarify anything, please let me know," and just kind of own it. Because I think, again, that confidence, I didn't tie advertising to a confidence. So I just really appreciate everyone's feedback and vulnerability and sharing what's been challenging for them. So I thank you.
Thanks for sharing. I think a lot of people echo that. They share the same fear of having their intelligence being judged because of their stuttering. So you're not alone in that. But yeah, I think it sounds like, presenting to the board of directors regardless would be really scary. But if you've done it before, you can do it again. You can give other presentations at maybe not quite as high of an executive level, and you can get through it. And advertise if it, gives you confidence and takes the pressure off of you. That's all good stuff. Thanks for sharing.
Mhm. All right, I think we've got Lamberto up next.
Hello, my name is Lamberto Martinez. I'm with the South Carolina Highway Patrol, and it took a lot to join. It's like you gotta do 4 weeks of pre-academy and then 8 weeks of academy, and then 4 more weeks of post-academy. And then after that, you go 8 weeks to your FTO, which is a field training officer. And it wasn't too bad, my stuttering, until I was on my FTO, because he would rush me a lot, and I don't think that's something that's helpful. And so in my last shift of FTO, it was my lieutenant who rode with me instead. And he and the command staff decided I was not ready to be out on the road by myself. So I was removed from my position because of the stuttering. And I was sent to go get speech therapy. And until I improve, I won't be out on the road again. But yeah, that's really all I had to say, not too much.
Thanks for sharing your experience, Lamberto. I mean, it sounds like you have a job where you're interacting with the public a whole lot, and that would be a very stressful job. Um, and I think just you showing up to work every day and just doing your job, and if it's something that you really enjoy doing, just not letting anything hold you back. I mean, I think that that's awesome, and that's something that I think we can all be a testimony to. I think just getting up in the morning and just knowing that, like, hey, I may stutter today, I may have a really tough day, like that is really hard, and that's something that I don't think other people realize. And so just getting up and continuing to go to work, and just knowing that, hey, it might be tough, I might have this meeting, or I might have this person and there's going to be a jerk, and just getting up and continuing to do the hard stuff, like that is something that we should all applaud ourselves for. So I appreciate you sharing your story. All right, I'm trying to scroll up. We've had so much good conversation in the chat. I'm trying to make sure I keep us on track with people. Okay, so we've got Nakia, Jan, John, and after that we've got Leah, and then I think our very last person is going to be Joanne to bring us home before we end.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nakia Grayson, and I currently live in Northern Virginia. And I'm going to share like about 2 experiences. It's not going to be long, but it's about my week last week. So I had one meeting last week on Wednesday, and prior to that meeting, I was so nervous about it because the people that were in the meeting were people that I never spoke to in a meeting before, and they're kind of like high level at my job. So I worried about that meeting for a whole week. And when that meeting actually took place, I actually really had a hard time communicating on what I wanted to say. I even changed up a few words in the meeting, which I kind of was surprised because I wrote down what I wanted to say, and like even put like a pause in between of the paragraphs, so it really helped me. But I think I was paying attention so much to my facial expressions because I was on video, which sometimes it's hard for me to want to jump on video because I'm like, oh, I don't want to see me struggling with a word. But after that meeting, I did feel like crap. I was like, well, one is because I didn't say what I really wanted to say, and I was changed up a few words. But right after that meeting, I told myself I can't get stuck in that moment, and I have to be kind to myself, and I have to move on, because that next day on Thursday, I had a presentation, and it was a joint presentation with my colleagues, and I have to introduce that meeting because I'm the project lead. So I just remember to be my own cheerleader and root for myself. So when I started off at that meeting on Thursday, at the beginning, I don't really have trouble with my first name, but I always have trouble with my last name. But my first name it also gave me like, at first I got a little bit nervous about it, like, oh, I'm not going to be able to say my first name. So I had that negative thought, and then right when I started to think that, I told myself to pull back, like, get out of that spirit and be positive. And if I did stumble on my name, is okay. Just move on. So, and I didn't disclose in that meeting, but sometimes I do. But in that meeting, I just didn't do it. But I just remember every time I came to a word that I was going to have trouble with, I just made sure that I said it. And I remember to just like start off small and just be positive and be kind again to myself, and just try to make sure that if I stutter on a word, that I didn't really feel like embarrassed at that moment. I just keep pushing forward, and uh, and after that meeting, I told myself I just have to keep on challenging myself and pushing myself and get out of my comfort zone. And that's what I would like to share.
Well, you could just give this whole webinar yourself. You hit resiliency right on the head. That's fantastic that you were able to like tell yourself that, like, you know what, I'm going to be positive. I will get through it. I'm not going to be too hard on myself. Like, that's amazing. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for sharing. That's a really great example. Props to you.
Yeah, I just want to chime in too. I like when you said be kind to yourself, I feel like that was a mic drop moment right there. Like you could have just
Yeah.
walked away and been like, I'm done. Because that is so important. And I think about that too. Like, you know, I had a person tell me once, like, to be sure to be as nice and as kind to yourself as you are to other people. And I think that our self-talk, especially those, you know, those moments when we're getting in our head, like, why am I getting stuck on this word? Like, what are you so nervous about? Like, I think about, like, if my friend was sharing something about their experience with me, like, would I have that same self-talk for them that I have for myself? Like, no, I'd probably be a lot more kinder and gentler and understanding. And so I think that that is something that's super important to do, and that's really good perspective to have. All right, let's see who's next. We've got, I'm scrolling, trying to get to the top. All right, we've got Jan, John, Leah, and we're gonna close with Joanne. So Jan, take us away. Jan may have left. So we are going to move on to John. I don't think I see Jan's name in the chat, so we're gonna move on to John.
Hello, everybody. Are you able to hear me okay?
Mhm.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to be here. I was looking forward to this webinar for most of the week, or for the beginning of the week, excuse me. And Ariel and Carl, thank you for your presentations and for everything that you shared. I thought your presentation was really good, Ariel, and I really enjoyed hearing your input.
Thanks.
But
Thanks for joining us.
yeah, but the story I want to share is actually about one of my favorite related accomplishments as a person who stutters. A while ago, I had a job as a customer service representative for Wells Fargo, and this job it was all over the phones, and I worked in the home mortgage department for Wells Fargo, and it was a job that required me as a person who stutters to answer phone calls all day for 8 hours, and and back then, even now though it's improved a bit, but at that time, for one thing, at that time I was very unaccepting of my stuttering. Like my main goal every day was to, one of the first thoughts that would come to mind when I would wake up is to not stutter, is to not stutter, is to not stutter. And in this job specifically, I didn't want to stutter because it was my job. I had been phone, so on and so on. So this job, it was a horrible job, and I'll say why. It wasn't just because of the fact that I'm a person who stutters and have to be on the phone, but not were you only responsible for interacting with people, and a lot of people who called in were angry and upset. Usually, if you have a mortgage and you have to call that number, you're upset or you're unhappy about something. So, and on top of that, it was also a sales job as well, where you had these sales sales goals that you had to meet, and not only that, but on top of the sales goals, there were these other other service goals that you also had to meet, like one of them, for example, was that you couldn't talk on the phone with somebody for that long, and you couldn't have that individual call back within like a couple of weeks or so. So so it basically your job was to deal with angry and sometimes irate individuals. Then you had to sell them stuff, but you couldn't be on the phone with them for that long, and you had to resolve all of their issues in one phone call and not have them call back in the near future. So even for a person who doesn't stutter, that's that's a tough job to have, and it was a tough job at the time for me because once again I would stutter often on the phone, and it was so tough. It was tough to wake up every morning and go to work to do that job, and it it was hard. But at the time, I um I kind of hated that job. So just every morning, every day, I kept waking up and waking up and waking up and showing up to work and showing up to work, and and I would do my best over the phone to help these people and to meet all of my goals. And you know what? It turned out the job overall it turned out better than I thought it would, because at the end of my time there, I must have took hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calls. Like I'm not sure what the exact amount is, but there were only a handful of individuals that ever had an issue with my stuttering, and you're thinking in a job like that, and in an environment like that number should have been way higher. But for some reason, I made it work, and just kind of um, by hook or by crook, and by being as resilient as I could at the time, I made the job work, and I was able to meet my goals actually almost every month that I was there. And and there came a time where after a certain amount of months that I decided to leave that job. It wasn't because of anything uh, uh, about my speeches. Is that it was that over time the job just kind of it wore you down a little bit. So I had put in my 2 week notice, and I showed up. Um,
It's like you're breaking up a little bit there. Oh, did his just drop?
Yeah, I
I
think
wanted to hear the end
John.
of his story.
I know. I think
so
John temporarily dropped. But are
Huh.
you still there, John? There you go.
am I back?
You're
Yep,
back.
Am I back?
you're good now.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. I think there's an issue with my Wi-Fi, so I'll go ahead and wrap this up. I'll wrap this up quickly right now. Which part were you guys able to hear last?
I heard you say you put in your 2 weeks notice and then it kind of stopped.
Okay. Okay, cool. So yeah, I put in my 2 weeks at the end, and just once again, it was just uh, doing that job for after so amount of time, it wore me down. So and I get there on my last day. I show up for my last day, and I get a call from the head of the entire department that I work for. She's like the head honcho of the whole Wells Fargo home mortgage and customer service department. And she calls me in, and she says, "Hey, and I never heard or met from this individual up until that time. So I was a little bit like in awe to finally be talking to this person. So, but anyway, so I talked to her, and she says, "Hey, she introduces herself, and I introduce myself." And she says to me, "Hey, I hear it's your last day." And she's like, and I'm like, "Yeah, enjoyed my time here, and I learned a lot. But after a while, I I just don't think that this is the job for me," and so on and so on. And she tells me, and she brings up all of my numbers from that month, and she had saw that at that time that that I was well above average in all of my goals, all of my sales goals, a- and my service goals. And I'm assuming that she had to have known that I stutter. I mean, my supervisor there, she was aware that I stuttered, and they have all the recordings of my calls. I'm sure they've heard them, and and that she was aware. And she tells me, "Hey, I understand that you want to leave, but I love your numbers, and I think you would be really, really good in this role." And I was like, and I was flattered, in hearing that. But and I thanked her for that, eh, and I told her again I really enjoyed my time there. But in the end, I still got to go. So Um, but but to hear that from her, and the fact that even though it wasn't even though it was a really tough job, and even though I ended up leaving in the end, the fact that I went into that job as a person who stuttered on the phone a lot, and that I stuck with that job through all of the highs and the lows, and that in the end I was able to exceed all of those goals that for even a person who doesn't stutter would have been hard to do. And the fact that I didn't get a ton of people that really had an issue with it, that small part, like, it kind of shows you sometimes that you're the one that cares about your stutter a lot more than other people do. And unfortunately, there are stories where that isn't the case, but that one little thing about that job that kind of helped reinforce that, at least for me. And then on top of all that, at the fact that at the head of my department had wanted me to stay, even in spite of the fact that I stutter and all that, it was a really great accomplishment for me, and the fact that I was able to stick with that job, um, I want to say it definitely strengthened me for the future. So that's my story.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, John. And I share in your experience that I worked in a call center for Capital One for people who were late on their loans and lines of credit. So I'm totally here with you, man. That's a really tough job, whether you stutter or not. So yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing. All right, so I think we're down to our last two. We've got Leah, followed by Joanne, and then we're gonna wrap it up for the evening. So thanks everybody for staying. I think we still have 40 some people. So I think this is a testament to the fact that this has been a really, really good conversation, and that we've been able to share our experiences and know that we aren't alone, and that a lot of us have been through some of the same types of things. So it's been really great to hear. All right, I will shut up and give the floor to Leah.
All right. Well, hey everybody. I just wanted to share, I guess, what it's been like stuttering during COVID. I don't know if everyone else has had this same experience, but I have been working 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 from home for probably about a year now. That is super crazy to think about. But it's been weird, like stuttering over this past year, because I think that stuttering really enjoys a routine. And now it's like, wait, why are you home? And why aren't you talking as much as you used to? Like, what is going on here? So just wanted to share that with everyone, that it's been like super weird. But also wanted to just say that that I know that part of part of part of working is so much of the interview, and actually trying and like to get the job. So just wanted to just share that the whole point of an interview is to sell yourself. And I think that it is so important that we also sell ourselves as people who stutter. So just being able to say, hey, like, I stutter, and that these are the positives about it is so important. And it also allows that company to 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 check that check that mm, mm, to check that mm, mm, box in diversity. So we're a good catch. And also, I'm not going to say that we are better than everyone else, but I think we're better than everybody else. And like we are so smart and we're so intelligent and we have all of these different, I guess, um, uh, interpersonal skills that people that don't stutter, they just don't have. And I mean, I just think that we're awesome and we should all get every single job that we want because like I said, like I'm not gonna say that we're the best, but we're kind of are. But that's all of that I actually had to say. So just wanted to share that with the group, and a big shout out to Carl and to was the other to Carl and to Ariel for being such an incredible hosts. So
Well,
thank
thank
you.
you for joining. And you are the perfect cheerleader. Like, we are awesome. We got this. Like people are saying in the chat, we are the 1% amazing employees. Like, I think we do have a lot of great interpersonal skills that we've built through our stutter. And so we have to say, thank you to our stutter because we would not be our best version of ourselves without that because we've gained so many like positive traits from stuttering, such as resiliency. So thank you so much for sharing and for joining us tonight. I'm glad that you're here.
Yeah, I just want to share a point, kind of like I feel like you just preached a whole word, Leah. I'll just say that. But I do want to say, like, I think that's an important reminder is that, like, interviewing is a two-way street. And I think a lot of times we don't realize that. Like, for me, especially, I used to be so focused on, like, I need to do really well because I need to get this job. I want them to like me. But as much as we want them to like us, like, we want it to be a good place to work. Like, is that going to be a place that I'm going to enjoy being? Will that environment be, filled with people that I'll enjoy coming to work with and having to spend 8 or so hours a day with? I think when we look at it from that perspective, like we have to say, like, yes, we want to present our best selves, but also, is this place going to be a really good fit for me? So I think that's something important to keep in mind. All right, so we're going to go with Joanne, and then we are going to finish with Rachel, and then we're going to wrap up and talk about the upcoming events that we have for the NSA, and then we'll let everyone get on with their nights. I know it's getting a little bit late, depending on where you are, so thanks everybody for sticking with us.
Hi there, everybody. This is a good place for me to jump off on. So my name's Joanne. I live in Tucson, and I gotta say that for most of my life, my mental health has been tied to how well I talk or how well I don't talk. We all have good days. We all have bad days when I'm stressed. I talk worse. People make fun of me. I don't talk as much. But then, I'm sure a lot of women of a certain age will know what I'm talking about. When you hit a certain age, your field of, that joke about your field of F's to give is barren. When you reach a certain age, you don't give it. Your field clears out and you don't care as much anymore. And a couple years ago, my mind just sort of flipped the script. And, for so much of my life, I didn't talk much because I didn't think that what I had to say was important because I couldn't say it very well. And it suddenly occurred to me, I am so smart. Because I don't talk as much, I watch more. I see things going on more. So I have a lot to say. And I realize I'm just as smart as everybody else. If anything, I'm smarter because before I talk, my brain is racing ahead 5 or 6 words to select the words that I can say the best. And I have empathy. I have, there's so many other things that make me better than the average person. And so I have something to say. I have something important to say. And you're going to sit there and listen to me, because it's not that I have to present myself in a way that passes in the way society has structured the world. It's that we are different. That doesn't make us worse. We're just different. The world is full of different people. It's okay to be different. There are lots of great things about us. Why is it that we have to pass? And so when I just sort of own it now, yes, I talk weird from time to time, and people are going to make fun of me. That's on them. They're just showing their rear ends. They're just showing what kind of person they are. When I go in and I talk to somebody, I own it. I do say I have a speech impediment. It's easier for me to say than the S word. But I completely lost my train of thought. My train of thought derailed. Anyway, I started at work a couple years ago. A coworker and I came up with this program with a curriculum, and I started giving presentations about it. We got to go to a national conference with people all over the U.S., and we gave a presentation. I presented in front of a national conference, and I did a couple more, and people liked it, and people were coming to hang out with us afterwards. And it was just, since then I own it. I write, and so I'm involved in a lot of author stuff, and I've been giving presentations. They've been paying me to stutter in front of people and present because what I have to say is important. So, we need to own this. And it's not that people are making fun of us. If people are making fun of me, I point out, really, you're going to be that person that makes fun of someone who's different? That's just you being stupid. That's not us. That's you. So anyway, I could talk about this all day. We're all different. We all need to honor how different everybody is and not expect everybody to fit in this neat little box of what passes, because we're all different. So anyway. Okay.
We all have our quirks. I think of that too. I like to think of like stuttering, it's a quirk. It's not necessarily,
very much.
For me personally, it's not the demon in my closet. It's a quirk that I have. I like to blog about stuttering and like talk about how it's a quirk, and it's like not something that we should be scared of. It's our strength, as Nakia just put in our chat. It's a quirk, and we are celebrating our differences. So I'm glad he mentioned those things. I think a lot of people would benefit from that. So thank you for sharing so much.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Ariel said, when thinking about all of the positives that we get from stuttering, I know a lot of times we don't necessarily gravitate there first, but I think for me, one of the things that I've found that my stuttering is a good people filter. Like, just when I meet someone who, if you're gonna laugh at me because I stutter, like that lets me know all that I need to know about you as a person. And it lets me know, like, hey, maybe this person is not somebody who I need in my life because they're just, for whatever reason, they got their own thing going on. Like, I think it's made it so that I can really filter people out. And that's made, I think for me, being able to manage the relationships that I have and the people that I want to keep in my life, that's made things so much easier for me. So I think that was a really good point, Joey, and I appreciate that. All right, Rachel, you're going to bring us home.
I'm Rachel. I'm studying to become a speech therapist. and I became interested in it because of my stutter. When I was in undergraduate school, I had to work with kids on their articulation problems. While working with a kid, I did not disclose to the kid that I stuttered, and as a result, I became so nervous that I started crying, and like the kid cried like with me, and I was like, "Oh man, what am I gonna do now?" You know, but now I'm in a much better like mindset. Um, like I'm in grad school currently, and um, uh, at the beginning of grad school, though, uh, I did not start the uh, clinic courses because I was so nervous about my stuttering for 2 whole semesters. And so that's pushed my graduation date back a bit to this December. However, now I am more open towards disclosing my stutter, and I'm now currently working with a client who stutters from her Parkinson's. So thank you for listening.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Rachel. And I think that's so cool. I always love to meet people who stutter who decide to be speech language pathologists, because I think that, you know, who better to help other people who stutter than us, right? Like, we know the experience firsthand. And so I think that that's really important work, and I'm glad that you're doing it.
Yeah, thank you so much for, being another force of stuttering positivity in this world that we all need so many of. Kudos to you for, like, using your powers for good in a sense. And thank you for being here. Thank you to all of you guys for being here. It's been amazing. Truly, truly amazing.
Wait, so I'm
Yes.
going to chime in here. Let's give a big thanks to the two hosts here, Carl and Ariel. Let's give a massive thanks. They did a brilliant job facilitating conversation. Thank you.
Good job, guys. Great job.
Thanks, everybody.
Awesome job, guys. Thank you again.
Great job, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. It
Great
was
job,
great
guys.
to see everybody. You guys had some really great perspectives and experiences. And it was also really neat to see everyone who was here for their first NSA event or their first webinar. We have a lot of really fun stuff coming up this next month, I know in April. John, I'm going to put you on the spot since you probably have all of that stuff memorized. Can you give us a quick rundown on maybe 2 or 3 events that we've got coming up that folks might want to attend?
Okay, so I'm going to say the biggest event coming up is going to be the NSA Spring 2-Day Conference happening on the 17th and 18th of next month, which is April. Notice how I said of next month, because I was going to stutter saying April. So I said of next month, April. We all do it. That's what we do. So it's the Spring 2-Day NSA Conference, and it's going to have a lot of great sessions that you're definitely going to want to attend. This conversation tonight was great, and much of that same conversation will occur then. We also have NSA Connects, which those are the same sort of thing that's happened tonight. There's a theme. there's an audience that is attracted to some sort of a theme for NSA Connects. If you go to westutter.org/events or /NSA Connects, you'll be able to learn more. Go in the chat and you'll be able to scroll up and you'll be able to see how to get onto the email list. But there's lots of different things happening for the National Stuttering Association that will help you to feel more connected to people and more connected to yourself. And by all means, if you don't follow the National Stuttering Association on Facebook, it's easy. We Stutter. You'll find us on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and on that note, thanks everyone for coming out. I will give the floor to Ariel if she has any final thoughts.
I don't have any. I was just typing up a message I was going to send in the everyone chat, but I'll just say it here. I mean, we wouldn't have webinars if people didn't want to come to them. So I'm so glad that like we had so many people come. It's been so great. I love talking about stuttering and hearing everyone else's perspectives. So thank you again. And like John said, you can follow the NSA on social media. He posted the links to them up in the chat. I would love to connect with all of you guys too. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, not Twitter. I tried it, not really my thing, but reach out, and I hope you guys can all attend the webinar next month. Like John said, it's about public speaking at work, which is that is a hard topic. So we would love to see you guys there, and thanks again for coming. It's been so great.
Thanks, everybody. I hope you guys have a great night and have a great rest of your week. Everyone take care and be safe.